Speaking of AI security and safety, the United States and China are set to hold high-level talks this September ahead of Chinese President Xi Jinping's planned visit to the U.S. The talks are going to be led by U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and they will focus on AI safety, security, and preventing advanced technology from falling into the wrong hands. No word yet on who those wrong hands might be. While the two countries do remain major rivals in, well, pretty much everything, both of them have finally realized that they need to address shared risks such as cyber attacks, intellectual property theft, and threats to critical infrastructure. I'm not holding my breath that any major breakthroughs are going to come out of this, but the talks do represent an important step towards improving communication on AI policy. Al, I'm going to let you start off this discussion. Do you think that the US and China can successfully agree on global AI safety standards? Or is this all window dressing because the national security implications are going to prevent any real cooperation?
Well, I think one of the first elements is, does anybody who's involved in these negotiations actually understand what AI can do and what it will be able to do over the next 6, 12, 18 months, maybe even out to 5 years, given the pace at which these things move? My first instinct is to say US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, maybe not a deep specialist in how AI works and where the risks are and the dangers. However, at least it's somebody with a reasonable amount of authority who is going to be there. Hopefully the delegation includes people who actually know what AI does and can do. But fundamentally, this feels a little bit like the early stages of the nuclear non-proliferation treaties. These are powerful weapons that could be used against us. Maybe we need to make sure that we restrict who is the nuclear AI capable countries in the future. So in the same way that we got the strategic arms limitation, well, SALT, the treaties, maybe it'll be a strategic AI limitation treaty coming out of this. No, I don't think it will. I think it's interesting that this is a conversation with China, as you highlight. Usually when we're talking about who the adversary is, when AI is being talked about, China is the adversary state. This is why the US has restricted exports of advanced AI hardware to China, which of course led to Chinese companies developing their own advanced AI hardware. No particular expectation of a breakthrough here. This is a beginning of the conversation, and maybe there'll be some context setting, working out who else might be at risk, whether there's large commercial and particularly criminal groups who might be using AI, and maybe we need to try and restrict access here. Tom, can you see this group of politicians successfully restricting criminal access to resources?
Let's look back on all the successful talks that we've had with other countries this year about curtailing big problems. Okay, I'm done. It's a little tongue-in-cheek, but the problem here ultimately is you have the two biggest economies in the world right now that are both trying to say to the other one, we need to restrict our AI so that it can't cause problems. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, the first thing you can do is put controls in place that prevent people from developing the AI capabilities that would cause it to do bad things in the first place. And we've already heard from people like Mark Andreessen that that's tantamount to genocide to the human race to restrict AI in any way. Man, I want to be on whatever drugs that guy is on. So the next thing is, well, how do we prevent the AI from being misused? I know, we'll put a kill switch in it so that if somebody uses something that's derived from our model, then we can just hit the switch and it'll shut off. Think the US is going to be able to convince the Chinese to put in a kill switch that they can operate? You think the Chinese are going to be able to convince the US to put in a kill switch that they can operate? No. In fact, I don't even think they'll be able to convince them to put in a kill switch, period. Because the other thing that we're forgetting here is that the US government is vacillating between free and unrestricted AI development and the need to approve everything that goes out the door. And quite literally, it depends on which way the wind is blowing that day, or actually more appropriately, which AI person called the Oval Office last night and had a long conversation. And that worries me, because no matter what talks Scott Bessent has with his counterpart on the Chinese side, they're literally just 1 or 2 phone calls away from the entire thing getting scrapped and people throwing all the papers and crayons off the table and walking away because I don't like the way this deal looks. We can get a better deal if we just play hardball. We've literally seen this, except this time it's not a country in the Middle East that we think that we can bully. It is one of the largest armies in the world, and it is a country that has no qualms about using its advanced technology to do a lot of things that would probably not be beneficial for us. So I think what's going to happen is in September, we're going to get some performative talks and we're going to hear all the usual talking points about how this is so, groundbreaking and we're making great progress, and absolutely zero is going to be done about it. Because ultimately, everyone is looking at a really bad hand of cards, hoping that the other side's going to fold before they call your bluff. And in reality, we're watching as the AI companies are stacking the deck and hoping that both governments will walk away without regulating anything so that they continue to do whatever they want. And in that situation, I think I'd rather be far away from that card game before everything blows up in everybody's face.